Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the numbers and letters thrown around when it comes to smartphone reviews? Like the processor speeds, megapixels, the RAM, 90Hz refresh rate, you get it. It's enough to make your head spin. But here's the secret. Understanding these specs or specifications is actually like having a cheat code to choosing the perfect smartphone for you. Today, I'm here to decode smartphone specs in a way that anyone can grasp, whether you're a tech wizard or a complete newbie. By the end of this guide, you will be armed with the knowledge to confidently navigate the world of smartphones and find a device that's perfect for you. And so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. First up, let's start with the display. The screen is the part of the phone you interact with the most, so it's important to understand its key features like refresh rate, screen size, resolution, and more. The first thing you need to know about this is screen size, and that is measured diagonally in inches. So whenever you hear a 6.5-inch display, it means the diagonal measurement is 6.5 inches and not the length of the phone. Let's talk about resolution. Resolution is another important aspect of the display. It tells you how many pixels or tiny dots that make up the screen image. Common resolutions are HD, which is 720 pixels, Full HD, 1080 pixels, Quad HD, which is 1440 pixels, and 4K, which is 2160 pixels. More pixels mean a sharper image, but after a certain point, the difference becomes hard to notice unless you look very closely. Full HD, which is 1080p, or something slightly above that, maybe a QHD display, are like the sweet spot for most users. Getting any smartphone way beyond this recommended resolution would do more harm than good. Of course, it will drain your battery faster, task the processor more, and you won't really notice that difference from a certain resolution, which is the Full HD. Let's talk about pixel density. Pixel density is like counting how many tiny squares or pixels from a smartphone screen can fit into a specific space on a graph paper, which is a 1 square inch area. For instance, when you overlay this graph paper on your smartphone, a higher resolution smartphone will have more pixels fitting into that 1 inch space compared to a lower resolution smartphone. The higher the pixels per inch, or PPI, the sharper and clearer the display will be. So let's talk about the display technologies here. There are 3 main types of displays you'd find on modern smartphones. You get the LCD, the OLED, and the AMOLED. Don't worry if that sounds a little bit like alphabet soup. We'll break them down in this video. LCDs, or liquid crystal display screens, are like a sandwich of light and crystals. Imagine tiny crystals that twist and turn when electricity passes through them. These crystals act like tiny shutters, either letting light through or blocking this light. This is how LCD creates the images you see on your smartphone screen. I don't really know how to explain this without going into details, but here's the summary. LCD screens are popular because they are less expensive to make, and this means that smartphones with these kind of displays often cost less. They are also really good at being bright, so you can see your screen clearly even when you're outside on a sunny day. However, they're a bit thicker than the other types of displays we'll talk or touch on in this video, and that's because they have this special backlights to make the picture visible. Also, the blacks are a little grayish. OLED screens are like having millions of tiny colorful light bulbs on your smartphone's display. Each of these tiny lights can turn on and off super fast, and they can change to any color because they have RGB, which is red, green, blue colors, and these bulbs can combine to form any color on the screen. This means that OLED screens can create really vivid and beautiful images. One of the coolest things about OLED is that when it needs to show black, it can turn off that particular pixel completely. This makes the blacks look really deep and the colors pop out more, giving you a higher contrast ratio. And that's the difference between the brightest point on the screen and the totally turned off pixel. OLED screens are also thinner and lighter than LCDs, which is why many high-end smartphones use them. The downside here is that they are more expensive to make, so phones with OLED screens might cost a bit more than those with LCDs, and they're actually better. By the way, OLED means organic light emitting diodes. Now let's talk about AMOLED displays. AMOLED is like OLED's cooler, faster cousin. It takes all the good stuff from OLEDs and makes it even better. AMOLED screens can change their tiny light or pixels even faster than the OLED displays. This makes them really fantastic for things that move really quickly on the screen, like video games and action movies. Your AMOLED display can also produce even more vibrant colors than OLED, making everything on your screen look super bright and colorful. They are usually the thinnest and lightest of all screen types here, which is great for making sleek, modern smartphones. The catch is that AMOLED is the most expensive to produce, so phones with this kind of screen are often the priciest. Also, like OLED, they might not be as easy to see in very bright sunlight compared to the LCD displays. So let's talk about the refresh rate. Imagine your smartphone is like a flip book. Each page of the flipbook is a single image, and when you flip through it quickly, it looks like the image is moving. That's basically what your screen does, but super fast. The refresh rate is how many times your screen can draw a new image every second. It's measured in hertz, which is just a fancy way of saying times per second. Most budget smartphones and tablets have a 60 Hz refresh rate, and this means they show 60 new images every second. That's already pretty fast, but some bigger devices have higher refresh rates like 90 Hz and 120 Hz, and those can show 90 or 120 new images every second. And why does that matter, you might ask? Higher refresh rates make everything on your screen look smoother. Scrolling through social media feels silky smooth, games look more fluid and can even feel more responsive. Animations and video playbacks can look clearer and more detailed, but there are trade-offs with this one. The higher the refresh rate, the more battery power is being used. Also, your phone has to work harder to draw more images per second, and not all apps and games on your smartphone can take advantage of this high refresh rate yet. But as far as being smooth, the higher the refresh rate, the smoother your phone. 90 Hz is the sweet spot if you ask me, but before I go, let's talk about the bezels, notches and aspect ratios on displays. The bezels are the borders around your phone's display. They've evolved from thick frames to nearly invisible edges. Slim bezels offer a modern look to your smartphone, but they can make your phone more fragile and prone to accidental touches. Now let's talk about aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is the proportion of your screen's width to its height, some of which are 16:9, 18:9, and even 20:9. Wider ratios like 16:9 are great for videos, while the taller ratios like 18:9 and 20:9 show more content when scrolling and are easier to hold. So when trying to determine what kind of aspect ratio of a smartphone you should get, consider if you watch a lot of videos or prefer one-handed use. Just choose a ratio that suits or fits your needs. Now over to notches. Notches and punch hole cutouts are design solutions that allow for larger smartphone screens while still including front-facing cameras and sensors. A notch is a small cutout at the top of the screen, usually housing the selfie camera, the earpiece, and other sensors. It extends the display to the top corners of the smartphone, but can be seen as visually disruptive by some users. Now, punch hole cutouts, on the other hand, are small circular holes in the display, usually seen at the top center of your smartphone, and they contain just front-facing cameras. This design offers an even larger uninterrupted display area compared to the notches we've considered earlier. Both solutions are stepping stones towards the goal of fully edge-to-edge displays. Now I'm curious, what's your ideal display setup? Drop a comment with your perfect screen size, the resolution, the refresh rates. Let's see who's got the dream display. So let's talk about the RAM and storage. Let's talk about the RAM, which is short-term memory. Imagine your smartphone is a busy office. RAM or random access memory is like the desk space where you spread out all your documents you're currently working on. The more the desk space or the RAM you have, the more tasks you can work on at once without having to put things away and take them out again. If you're trying to determine how much RAM you need, here's a quick way to do that. For a light user, someone who calls and texts and does a little bit of web browsing, 3 to 4 gigs of RAM will be fine. For an average user, someone who does light gaming, social media, and also the previous things we mentioned, about 6 to 8 gigs of RAM will be fine for juggling these several tasks. And when it comes to being a power user, that's you're a heavy gamer, lots of multitasking, 8 gigs of RAM and more will be spacious enough for your complex projects. I'm talking about Android devices here. Remember, more RAM helps your phone keep more apps running smoothly in the background. Now let's talk about the storage, which is the long-term memory. If RAM is your desk, then the storage is like the filing cabinets in your office. It's where you keep all your stuff, the photos, the videos, and more. There are two main types currently, eMMC and UFS storage. eMMC is like a basic filing cabinet. It gets the job done, but isn't the fastest, usually found in budgets and cheap smartphones. UFS, on the other hand, is more like a high-tech filing system with a robotic assistant. It's much more faster at finding and retrieving files, and it's common in more expensive devices, making them quicker at loading apps and moving files around. So smartphones with UFS storage are better and faster than the eMMC counterparts. There are various versions of the UFS storage, but that isn't the scope of this video. So what if you run out of space on your smartphone? That's where expandable storage comes in. Some smartphones let you add a micro SD card, and that's like bringing an extra filing cabinet to the office. So if you're getting an average storage size of say 128 gigabytes, you might want to consider a smartphone that supports the use of expansion card. And this means you can always expand or increase your storage in the future when the need arises. So remember, as far as memory and storage, it's all about how you use your smartphone. Choose a combination that fits your digital lifestyle. By the way, how much RAM and storage do you have on your current device? Is that enough for you? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're loving this video so far, why not subscribe right now so you do not miss on subsequent tech videos like this one? Thank you. Have you ever wondered what makes your smartphone so smart? It's all thanks to that tiny but mighty component that's called the processor. It usually has two parts, the CPU and the GPU, but let me break it down with a restaurant kitchen analogy. Imagine your smartphone is a busy restaurant kitchen. The processor is the heart of the kitchen, making sure everything runs smoothly and delicious meals, which are apps and functions in terms of smartphones, are served up quickly. Now let's break that down. Remember I mentioned two parts, right? The CPU, which is the central processing unit, is the head chef, and the GPU, graphics processing unit, is like the pastry chef. Now the CPU is like the head chef of your smartphone kitchen. It decides what dishes or the tasks on your smartphone to prepare and in what order this is done. It also does coordinate the different stations in the kitchen, like the parts of your phone. It handles the main cooking or the processing of the smartphone and most of the dishes or the tasks on the smartphone. A faster CPU is like having a super efficient head chef. They can prepare more dishes faster without getting flustered. The GPU, on the other hand, which is the phone's pastry chef, is a specialist in making things look good. So the GPU creates beautiful desserts, like handles the graphics in games. It ensures the plate presentation is stunning, like making the videos you play look smooth, and also adds those extra flourishes to your dishes, like help create effects in photo editing apps. A powerful GPU is like having an award-winning pastry chef who can create spectacular desserts or graphics quickly and effortlessly. Some popular brands for smartphone processors include Qualcomm Snapdragon, which is found on lots of Android smartphones in the high-end series, the Apple A series, which is exclusive to Apple devices, and there's the Samsung Exynos processors, which are in-house processors by Samsung. You also get this MediaTek chipsets found in a lot of budget devices. They have great processors too. So what does this mean for you? For a casual user who texts, does web browsing and social media, a mid-range processor will serve you well. For a power user who does a lot of gaming, video editing, multitasking, a high-end processor with a powerful GPU will satisfy your demanding tastes. Remember, just like a well-equipped kitchen with skilled chefs can serve up delicious meals quickly, a good processor makes using your smartphone a smooth and enjoyable experience. So let's talk about the battery life on smartphones. What Easyboye means when it says 65 watts fast charging, or what Fisayo means when it says 5000 milliamp hour battery. Let me break that down a bit. The battery capacity is measured in milliampere hours, or mAh. Think of this as the number of liters or gallons your car's fuel tank can hold. Higher milliamp hour battery means bigger fuel tank, and more mAh means your phone can usually run longer before needing a recharge. But remember, just like how a big SUV with a large fuel tank might not go as far as a small, efficient car, a big phone with a big battery might not always, last longer. And there are several factors that can affect the battery life on smartphones. First off would be the screen or the display. If you have a bigger and brighter screen, more refresh rate, or even higher resolution, that would result in more power usage. Second thing would be the processor. Similar to how powerful engines use more fuel, faster processors can drain your batteries quicker because of a lot of things that are going on in the background. The third thing would be your usage. Think of this as your driving style. Heavy use like gaming would drain your battery faster than using your smartphone to do maybe texting. So let's talk about fast charging here. Fast charging is a technology that allows your smartphone to charge much quicker than the standard charging methods. And here's what you need to know about how fast charging works. Fast charging uses higher voltages or currents to deliver more power to your batteries in less time. When this charge comes into your smartphone, the charger on the phone communicates to adjust the charging speeds based on the battery's current level and the temperature actually. Typically, fast charging is fastest when your smartphone is nearly empty, and it slows down as your battery tries to fill up to protect this battery's health. So you take a quicker time to charge from 0 to 50% than from, say, 80% to 100. There are different fast charging standards as they all are not created equal. I mean, different manufacturers use various standards. The first would be USB power delivery, or PD. It's used by a lot of Android smartphones and even the iPhones. We have the Qualcomm Quick Charge, which is common in phones with the Snapdragon processors. We have OnePlus Warp Charge, specific to OnePlus devices. Samsung has this adaptive fast charging, which is used on Samsung devices. Each standard can offer different charging speeds, which is measured in watts. So when you hear watts, it's the unit for power, and the higher the wattage generally means faster charging. Now, here are a couple things to keep in mind when getting a fast charger. You need to get a charger and a cable that are compatible with your phone's fast charging standard. You also need to know that fast charging can generate more heat than the standard charging style. This is quite normal, but excessive heat can stress the battery life over time. It's actually best to leave your smartphone alone while charging it so you do not charge and use at the same time, as that adds more stress to the battery. Also, while fast charging might be convenient, some studies suggest that frequent use of fast charging might slightly reduce the battery lifespan over years. However, for most users, the convenience here outweighs the minor drawback. There are also tips to maximize the battery life on your smartphones, some of which includes lowering your screen brightness. You might also want to use your smartphone in battery saver mode when the need arises. So here's my battery life balancing act. So when trying to purchase a smartphone and I want to consider the battery, there are three things I usually look out for. The first one would be the battery size. The bigger the better, but of course that would come with a huge or heavier smartphone. Second thing would be the phone's power needs. Consider the screen size, you consider the processor, as these all add to the battery usage here. The third point here would be your usage habit. Are you a heavy user or just a light smartphone user? All these points should be considered when choosing a smartphone with a certain battery capacity. Just remember that a bigger battery doesn't always mean a better battery life, especially if you're a power user or power driver who uses a lot of energy-hungry features. So let's talk about the cameras. In today's world, our smartphones are like having a professional photographer in our pockets. But with all the tech jargons flying around like megapixels, ultra-wide photo, depth sensor, OIS, it can be hard to know what really does matter. And that's what I'm going to do in this video to break it down for you. Let's start with the basics. Think of your smartphone as an eye. Just like you have your eyes, it needs to gather light and process what it sees. And here's how it does that. The first thing you have to consider would be the megapixels. I call them the detail collectors. First off, megapixels or MP are like tiny light collectors in your camera. More megapixels can mean more detail, but it's not the whole story. It's just like having more workers doesn't mean more work gets done. That's the reason a 12 megapixel iPhone 13 Pro Max's camera would take better photos than a Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus 5G's 120 megapixel camera. Let's talk about the sensor size. Now, I call the sensor size a light gatherer. The sensor size is also important. A bigger sensor, which of course means you're getting more area. This means more light can fall on it. And this also means clearer pictures, especially when it's dark. And you also get more natural looking photos, but more on that in a bit. Always have this at the back of your mind. A big sensor with fewer megapixels often beats a smaller sensor with lots of megapixels, like I mentioned with the iPhone and Redmi example. The third thing you should know here is aperture, which is the light controller. The aperture is like the pupil of your camera's eye. It's measured in f-stops like f1.8, f2.2, and a lower number like f1.8 means a wider opening, and wider opening also means more light gets into the sensor, and that is better for dark situations. It also brings about the natural background blur you get from portrait or photos without a whole computational thing going on. And here are some advanced features on smartphone cameras you should also know about. Some of the advanced cameras include features like OIS, which is optical image stabilization. This is like giving your camera a steady hand. It helps prevent the blurry photos you get, especially when you're moving your smartphone or taking photos in dark conditions, which actually require you to have steady hands. The second thing will be like the software magic that goes on. Yes, there's also a software effect on smartphones. Modern smartphones use clever software to enhance your photos. It's like having a mini Photoshop working instantly when you take a photo. They can brighten the dark areas or enhance your colors. Some go as far as smoothing the faces. The better tuned your software is, the better the photos come out. And things like getting accurate skin colors are affected by the software management here. Now, the third thing you want to talk about here about cameras, advanced features would be multiple cameras, which is like the Swiss Army knife approach. Many smartphones now come with multiple cameras, and that's like having different tools for different jobs. Like the ultra-wide cameras, for instance, will be good for taking landscape and big group shots. You have the telephoto lens on some of the smartphones, which is good for zooming in on distant subjects. You also have a macro lens on some smartphones for super close-up shots of tiny things. Now, here's how to choose what camera is right for you. If you're a casual snap shooter, look for a good software and a decent main camera. If you love taking landscape photos, prioritize a wide-angle lens. If you want this portrait pro kind of thing, seek out depth sensors on your smartphone that give you good background blur, or have a good computational photography for background blur. If you're a night owl and you'd like to take photos in the night, focus on large sensors and wide apertures. Remember, the best camera is the one in your pocket, the one you have with you, and even a basic smartphone camera can take great photos today with a bit of creativity. Now let's talk about the video side of the cameras on smartphones. Your smartphone isn't just for photos, it's a powerful video camera too. And let's break that down into two key aspects. You have the resolution and the frame rate. Resolution is about how crisp and detailed your videos look. Think of it like a puzzle. 720p means a million puzzle pieces which make up the video. It's actually good for casual videos. You have 1080p, which means like 2 million piece puzzle. It's quite sharp and clear and great for most users. When you come over to 4K, you're getting 8 million piece puzzle, which is super detailed but takes a lot of storage space. The higher resolution you choose, the more the detail, but that comes with an extra baggage of having to want extra space. You get larger file sizes with higher resolution. Now let's go over to frame rate. This is something I call the smoothness of motion. Frame rate is like how many images or frames your camera can capture each second. It's measured in FPS, which is frames per second. Now we have 30 FPS, which is the standard smooth motion. It's great for most videos. You go over to 60 FPS, which is extra smooth, good for fast action or sports. When you come over to 120 FPS or higher, that will be great for super slow motion videos. It's also great for super dramatic effects. So higher frame rates mean smoother motion, especially for fast moving subjects. So remember, higher quality videos take up more storage on your smartphone, so you have to choose wisely based on what you're filming and how you plan to share it. So let's talk about connectivity on smartphones. So when you hear things like Wi-Fi 6, 5G, NFC on smartphones, what comes to mind? Let me know in the comment section. And also I'm going to help you understand what these words mean if you don't. Our smartphones are constantly connected to the world, and understanding the different wireless technologies behind this connection is crucial. The first thing you want to understand is like the generations of smartphone networks. So I'm not going to dwell on them for simplicity's sake, but there's been first generation, we have the second generation which came in the 90s and had GSM, CDMA, also the third generation which you call 3G, we have the fourth generation 4G, and the fifth generation now which you call 5G. Imagine your phone's connection as a road. If 3G, the third generation, was a country lane, 4G is a city street, then 5G is like a multi-lane super highway. 5G is really fast that you can download videos or movies in a matter of seconds. 5G is also super fast that you do not perceive the latency. And as far as 5G's capacity, everyone can use their phones in a crowded concert without the slowdowns of the network. And that's how great 5G is. But remember, like every new highway, 5G is still being built in lots of places right now. It's not yet everywhere. So with the generations of smartphones out, let's talk about Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC. Wi-Fi is your smartphone's primary way to connect to a local or private network wirelessly. The latest Wi-Fi version right now is Wi-Fi 7, but currently I think just the S24 Ultra has Wi-Fi 7. The iPhone 15 Pro Max still has Wi-Fi 6E. Some of the benefits that Wi-Fi 6E and 7 offer include faster speeds and better performance, especially when multiple devices are connected. But as with speed with computers, you are as fast as the weakest link in your network. So if you have a Wi-Fi 6E smartphone and you're connected to a Wi-Fi 4 router or network, your max speed would be that of the router. Now, when it comes to Wi-Fi naming, let me just break it down a bit. Wi-Fi 802.11 is like the naming standard, and the other letters you see are the Wi-Fi generations. So Wi-Fi 802.11, A should be Wi-Fi 1, A/B will be Wi-Fi 2, G goes to 3, N goes to 4, AC is Wi-Fi 5, AX is Wi-Fi 6, you can see 6E and you can see 7. I hope you got that. So let's talk about Bluetooth. Bluetooth is designed for short-range wireless connections between your smartphone and other devices. It works within about 30 feet and is commonly used to connect like headphones, your speakers, smartwatches, and your car audio systems. Newer Bluetooth generations, which are 5.0 and above, offer improved range and sound quality, making your wireless experience even better. Moving over to NFC, which is near-field communication, is a very short-range technology that works within about 1.5 inches. It's primarily used for quick, secure interactions like tap to pay at stores, rapid pairing with Bluetooth devices, and sharing contact information between smartphones like on the iPhone devices now. While it's not as widely used as Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, NFC adds convenience for specific close proximity tasks. Now over to smartphone build quality and designs. Build quality is about more than just looks. It's about how your smartphone feels in your hand and how well it can handle your daily life. Let's break down the key factors. First off will be the materials used. Smartphones typically use three main materials, each with their pros and their cons. First would be plastic. These are lightweight and affordable but have this less premium feel to them. The next we talk about will be metal. They are sturdy and sleek, but they can be heavier than the plastic counterpart. Then you come over to glass, which is also heavy, but they have this elegant look, enable wireless charging, but they are prone to cracks and fingerprints. Many smartphones use a combination of these materials to balance aesthetics, durability, and the cost. Let's talk about the weatherproofing or the IP ratings you hear on smartphones. IP ratings tell you how well your smartphones resist water and dust. The rating has two digits there, which I'll explain. The first digit, which goes from 0 to 6, talks about the dust resistance on your smartphone. 6 is the best, meaning totally dust-proof. And the second digit, which goes from 0 to 9, talks about the resistance for water or water resistance. The higher the number, the better. So 7 means you can survive 30 minutes in 1 meter of water. 8 can handle a deeper water, and so on. For example, IP68 on the S24 Ultra means you have excellent resistance for both dust and water. So all you have to remember here is that the best build quality for your smartphone depends on your lifestyle. A rugged phone with high water resistance might be perfect if you're often outdoors, while a sleek glass design could be ideal for you if you prioritize style. So let's talk about securing your smartphones like Biometrics Explained. Modern smartphones use advanced biometric technologies to help you keep your data safe, while making it easy for you to access your devices also. Let's look at the two most common types, which are the fingerprint scanners and the facial recognition. Fingerprint scanners use your unique fingerprints to unlock your smartphone, and there are three main types of fingerprint scanners. One would be the capacitive scanners, which are usually found on the backside of most smartphones or to the side, maybe below the button or doubling as the power button. They are quite fast and reliable, but they require a separate sensor. The second one would be the in-display scanners. They are usually hidden under the screen, typically in OLED displays, and they are quite sleek as far as design, but can slightly be slower than the capacitive scanners. Now we can talk about the third type of fingerprint scanners, which are ultrasonic scanners. These are also fingerprint scanners that are under display, but they use sound waves to map your fingerprint. This makes it easy to work well with your wet fingers, and they are highly secure. And that brings me to the facial recognition features on smartphones. When it comes to facial recognition systems, they use your face as the key to your phone, and there are two main types here, the 2D facial recognition system and the 3D type. The 2D recognition uses your front-facing camera to analyze your face, and they are quick but less secure. They can sometimes be fooled with photos. Moving over to the 3D facial recognition systems, on the other hand, like Apple's Face ID, these use special sensors to create a 3D map of your face. They are actually more secure and work in low light, but these require special or specific hardware to achieve them. Both fingerprint and facial recognition offer a balance of security and convenience. Many smartphones include both, letting you choose what works best for you in different situations. Just remember that while these features are very convenient, for the higher security, like for your banking apps, you might still want to use your strong password or PIN as a backup. Android smartphones also have a pattern feature if you do not trust any of these features, but it should work fairly well for you. Now let's move over to the software and user experience with your smartphones. The operating system, which is OS, is the software that powers your smartphone, and that determines how you interact with your device. There are two main players in the smartphone world right now, which are Android and iOS. Let's break down what they offer. Android is an open source platform developed by Google and is used by many smartphone manufacturers. In fact, Android offers a wide range of devices at various price points, catering to different user needs and budgets. The platform is known for its high customization, allowing users to change the look and feel of their devices with themes, widgets, and even launchers. Additionally, the Google Play Store provides a diverse app selection, and different manufacturers offer different or unique flavors of Android, such as Samsung's One UI, Redmi's MIUI, you get Color OS from Oppo, Oxygen OS from OnePlus, stock Android from Google Pixel devices, iOS from Techno, and so on. One of the main advantages of Android is the extensive hardware choices and the greater customization option it offers, often including more affordable devices. However, this open nature also has its downsides. Updates can be slower depending on the manufacturer, and there's a potential for more security risk compared to more closed systems like the iOS devices. And that brings me to iOS. iOS is Apple's operating system exclusive to iPhones. Apple devices offer a consistent user experience across all their products, including the Macs, the iPads, and even the Apple Watches. The tight integration with other Apple devices enhance this experience, making it seamless to switch between devices. And the apps also provide strictly vetted applications, ensuring quality and security. You also get this regular and consistent updates across supported devices, and this keeps the system up to date and secure. You also get this user-friendly interface and faster software updates as the major advantages for Apple users. I mean, the seamless ecosystem is particularly beneficial if you use multiple Apple products, and the platform is generally considered more secure. However, the lack of customization options, though they've been trying to be less closed in recent times, but the closed ecosystem can make you feel a little bit restricted. Additionally, Apple devices are typically more expensive, limiting accessibility for some users. Now, here's how to choose what's right for you. When choosing between Android and iOS, consider what matters most to you. If you value customization and variety, Android might be your best bet. However, when you prefer simplicity and seamless integration with other Apple devices and products, iOS could be your way to go. Also consider your budget, your desired features, and how the smartphone would fit into your digital life when making this choice. Remember, both systems are constantly evolving, and what's most important is choosing the one that feels right for you. And there you have it, folks. We've decoded the key smartphone specs and features. Remember, the best smartphone for you balances these features with your needs and budgets. Don't just chase the highest numbers. Think about how you'll actually use your device before getting a device. Now you've armed yourself with this knowledge, you can confidently navigate smartphone reviews and make an informed decision. Also, let me know in the comment section if I covered that smartphone spec you've always wanted to know about. I'd really appreciate you sharing your thoughts in the comment section below, after which you might want to check out these videos here. YouTube think you like them. Catch you guys in the next one. Ph.D.